In an age when crowns were heavy and power was often louder than wisdom, there rose a young ruler named Zai, who inherited a kingdom that was not broken, but unfinished, rich in land and people yet fragile beneath its wealth. On the night of his coronation, while the city celebrated and his council waited for his first decree, Zai dismissed them all and walked alone into the inner chambers of the palace, where no banners hung and no voices followed. And there beneath a single burning lamp, he knelt in silence. He did not ask for armies, he did not ask for gold, and he did not ask for dominion, because he had seen kings before him who possessed everything outwardly and ruled nothing inwardly, and he understood that unchecked power collapses under its own weight. So instead of asking for wealth or victory, Zai asked for understanding, because he knew that understanding is wealth in seed form, and everything else follows the man who knows how to govern himself. That night, wisdom did not arrive as fire or thunder, but as clarity. And from that moment forward, Zai understood that before a man can rule a kingdom, he must first rule his mind. Zai learned early that the mind is either a throne or a battlefield, and that most men unknowingly surrender theirs to noise, impulse, and fear. But he refused to do so, and instead trained his thoughts with the same discipline others reserved for armies. Each morning before the sun rose, Zai sat in stillness, not listening to the world, but observing himself, governing his thoughts, refusing fear, restraining desire, and establishing order within long before enforcing it without. As his inner kingdom came into alignment, his outer kingdom followed naturally, because decisions became precise, judgment became clean, and peace spread not because it was demanded, but because it was embodied. Neighboring kings mistook Zai's patience for weakness and called him slow, but Zai understood that power given to the unprepared becomes punishment, while power given to the wise becomes dominion. He watched rulers rise quickly and fracture beneath success they had no structure to hold, and instead of rushing, Zai refined himself until his capacity matched what was coming. When wealth finally arrived, it rested on him easily because it was not chasing him, but responding to the man he had become. And when influence expanded, it did so without force, because order naturally attracts alignment. Zai was not known for long speeches because he understood that power lies in the weight of words, not their volume, and that silence often reveals more truth than speech ever could. In counsel, Zai often spoke last or not at all, allowing others to expose their intentions, fears, and ambitions simply by filling the space he refused to occupy. He taught that words are creations, not sounds, and that an undisciplined tongue can destroy in moments what disciplined hands build over years. Zai did not rise alone, because no man ascends in isolation, and so he surrounded himself with disciplined, wise men who sharpened him rather than soothed him, understanding that environment determines ceiling. He dismissed flatterers quickly, avoided quiet mediocrity even faster, and built a circle that multiplied wisdom instead of diluting it. He never lost sight of his purpose, because he knew that riches without purpose are poverty wearing a crown, and so he ruled not to consume, but to serve, not to elevate himself, but to stabilize the kingdom entrusted to him. Though his reign was strong, Zai was not immune to failure, and alliances broke, judgments cost him, and trust was tested. But he never wasted failure, because he understood that adversity is instruction for those willing to study it. He recorded his failures, extracted the violated law, and installed new behavior immediately, treating enemies as teachers and betrayal as revelation rather than bitterness. Zai's kingdom was not sustained by charisma or luck, but by daily structure, because he understood that discipline is not a feeling, but a system, and that a man without written law becomes a servant to impulse. His mornings began with purpose, his actions were measured by output rather than effort, his thoughts were guarded carefully, and his nights ended with reflection, because discipline freed him from chaos rather than restricting him. In his later years, when his kingdom was unmatched and his name spoken with reverence, Zhi taught one final law, that wealth without reverence corrupts, and power without reverence collapses. He lived not as master, but as steward, aligned with a law greater than ego, placing truth above convenience and obedience above pride. When asked near the end of his reign what the greatest secret of his success was, he answered simply that the world bends not to information, but to identity, and that he became the man capable of carrying what he desired. And so King Zai passed into legend, not as the loudest ruler or the richest king, but as the one who understood that true dominion begins within.